Good morning, Ruby Lang. This is Michael Kananis from the Grovian Doll Museum. We are about to give you our final encore of Doll Week. And we have something really special to share today. And we have been very fortunate that we have a guest speaker, Denise Buese, that's going to join us today. Those of you that don't know Denise, she is a collector extraordinaire. She is a award-winning costumer and historian. She's also the former editor of Doll News for 2 terms. This is just a good egg. And if she wasn't such a great friend of ours and a friend of the Grovians, I would be pea green with envy, because Denise owns really one of the finest French fashion dolls in the world. And she simply goes by the name of Victoria. I'm going to let Denise explain who Victoria is and her incredible story. And there's also a very poignant connection to the most famous doll in this museum, which is Miss Rose Percy. They were both doing the same thing at different times for the same organization. So it's kind of an amazing, not a coincidence, it's just an amazing thing that dolls connect us. So I'm going to turn it over to Denise Buese. Okay. And I think we have to start early in the morning, because it's early in the morning
right.
here.
Thank you, Michael. Hi, Ruby Lane. We'll come over here to her trunk full of lovely morning, or whites we call them, under things. She also has another wig she could wear if she feels like it. If she doesn't, if she's having a bad hair day. This is interesting. It's a little bustle, or what we call tournure, to keep the back of the dress in its correct shape for the times. And then we have this wonderful early morning dress that she would have worn when she got up. But
to do her
hair, her little toilette before she got dressed and went on her way. So this has many layers.
And that's extraordinary.
Isn't that something? All the pin tucks and the lace. And then another layer. And then she has also a little short piece on top. But look at this piece was made, the fabric was actually made with strips of this embroidery and lace and then cut out. So it's great attention to detail.
And can we show the back? Because the back is so dramatic.
Right. All these little ivy leaves, embroidery. The pin tucking here comes all the way around with the lace.
And I think we should show the audience. We've shown this just incredible first of the day costume. I think they should get a pan of this incredible display, which Santa was very good to us this year. So we have this great display. And then I think we should really go in deep and give them the nitty-gritty. I know our studio audience have sat here in awe watching each one of these dresses come out of the tissue paper.
Well, it's remarkable that she came with the provenance that she did come with, and her wardrobe very nicely intact. She could have had more, who knows? She could have had more dresses, more things.
Sure.
I don't know. We know they were made in Paris in the 1870s. There's a little cross section kind of sort of early to mid 1870s, I'd say. At the 60s were the big hoop skirts, the big wide crinolines. Then they slimmed down a little bit. The front was pretty flat. It still had a little bit of a shape, but most of the attention was on the back of the dress.
The trains.
The trains, as you can see here. And I think it's a very flirtatious thing where, you know, in a lot of the illustrations in magazines, they're looking back like that. So flirtatious.
So tell us who Victoria is and where and who owned her.
Well, Victoria was owned by a little girl named Louise Schiff, who was born in 1865. She was born to a very wealthy banking family. They lived in London. And they spent a good part of the year in the south of France because of the mom's health. Now, Louise, her family background was unusual for the times, at least. Her mother had been married before. Soon after her honeymoon was over, she left her husband. It was the artist John Cavell. Well, John immediately sued her to get her back, to force her to come back to him. And there were some very juicy back and forths, and this went on for 5 years. And in fact, little Louise's father was named as co-respondent in the divorce. And she never did.
That was very unusual.
Oh, very. It was all, everybody was all Twitter for 5 years. Couldn't wait to read the newspapers. And finally it was over and they married and had 5 more children. So being wealthy, they traveled extensively. The children knew 4 languages. They were taught at home, or the boys mostly were away at boarding schools, the girls at home. They had governesses and nannies. And they, I think, you know, they went to Paris often. We know that by there's a picture album in England where they used to live, full of pictures of their travels. And they went to the Paris Opera, they went to Paris a lot. And we know that, I don't know when Louise got her doll, at what age, but maybe 5, 6, 7. And their clothes were made in Paris. And well, we can show you later, we know, we have proof of that. But do you want me to talk about when she was given away, or?
Well, I think we should.
There's a big story.
It's an epic story, and a matter of fact, there's a book about it, a whole book about Victoria. I think that one thing about this is that you have the only doll dress that I know of that has its original price tag in it. So that's
right.
a pretty. So let's show
right.
them that.
We can look
so
at that
we know that they weren't making them at home because they had.
Unfortunately, this is the one that's the most kind of worn out.
It's the dress that it's.
But
it's
I
just
think it's just lovely.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
the
it
silk.
probably would have been just fabulous.
The silk did
Now,
not.
let's see, it's over here. Don't
So
move
we've.
around too much.
Yes, it still has its original price tag.
Is it upside down, or can
Yes.
you see? It is. I
But
thought
that's
so.
all right.
Let's see. Let's turn it around for you, so you can see it's 20 francs.
20 francs.
Can you see that? Whoops, I'm sorry.
So
Here we go.
Clearly, they bought all these were bought in shops. We should tell them the make of Victoria, because I think that's
Right.
very
Oh,
interesting.
right.
Because right now there's a lot of the new Hurets that are being made with these new wonderful bodies, and Denise's Victoria actually has the real body.
The real deal. The body was made by a Frenchman named Clément, and he was a shoemaker. And he decided, they were so competitive with making doll bodies at that time, all the doll makers, and who could make the best body. They're very competitive with that. And so he decided to, for whatever reason, to make a doll body. And since he knew all about leather shoemaking, he made it as in a mold, as he may have made a shoe. And so it's hollow. It's leather, molded leather, and hollow inside. We call it a blown leather body.
But
it's
we
very
don't think
light.
it was actually blown. It was
No.
probably more
We
pressed.
call it that. It was pressed in the molds.
Yeah.
We call it, nobody blew into it like that. Like glass making or anything. Yeah, no.
That would be
Well, that's
pretty-
what we call
Yeah,
it. So
yes.
I think sometimes when we say, the different words, we give things that we immediately go there. We know
Yeah.
what it is, even though it might not be so accurate. But she has, she's all jointed.
It's
Looks
very lightweight.
very lightweight, and
durable.
it looks, yes, and it looks a little bit like the gutta percha Hure body. A little different,
A little different.
but very similar.
But those of the viewers that are out there that are playing right now with the new Hure, you can see there's your hands that you have. So it's just a super piece. And I think what's so remarkable about this group is the condition of the clothing is just so pristine. And I mean, do you think that the little girl played with her?
You know, I
What
rather doubt it. Perhaps she could take it out on Sundays or something and play. Her mother, they were very social. They were philanthropists, very wealthy. And her mother had, every Sunday afternoon, had a soiree, an open house, where artists could come, scientists, people from all walks of life, if you were someone, could come. And they'd play instruments and eat and talk. And so she may have been able to sit in the corner and play with her doll.
And at that period in time, if something happened to the doll, that say she dropped it and broke it or spilt, tea all over it, that would have been the governess's responsibility. And that would have come out of the governess's pay because she was in charge of the child and the dolls
And the child's
and the
behavior.
toys.
Yeah.
But we can see, you mentioned socializing. I mean, here is your absolute, don't you agree? This is a debutante ball gown or a court presentation dress. I mean, it looks slightly like a wedding dress, but I think it would, and it could be, both all those things.
But she's got the little wreath that matches the garland on the dress.
And I mean, that we have to show, look at the lacing of the back. I mean, that is just slipper satin and absolutely gorgeous.
And she'd have her little gloves.
And she could go to meet the queen. She just would need 3 ostrich feathers in her hair, and that would be court presentation. But just, and look at the flowers and the tulle. Now, Denise, you're a costumer. Now, when you see something like this, what type of time frame would you think it would take to make that?
Oh, Lord. Oh, goodness.
Because you've got all that piping.
A month? I don't know. I mean, it would, how long it would take them? Days.
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 So these are really not things that we can do now for
No,
necessarily for a business and be
These
cost
weren't
effective.
just cranked out.
No.
No. And I wonder if maybe the same person made some of them. A lot of the hats look very similar inside and similar in construction. There's tissue in there. But it's,
Gorgeous.
I don't know.
And I love how that we're still in the 1870s, but they're still mad for plaids and
Mad for plaid.
checks.
And checks. Checks were popular. And Victoria's right in there with the times. And I think this dress might be, this is a little slimmer, longer train. I think that might be towards the later 70s.
And then the accessories are incredible. So now we have, do we not have shoes to match pretty much every ensemble?
We do.
And these,
Those are, yeah.
which go with that ball gown,
Gown, slippers.
these I just think are outstanding. And they're the same maker that supplied for the Hure company, are they not? Yeah. So these could have easily gone on a Hure doll too. So they were shopping, I think, all around town at that period in time.
She's got, let's see what she's got on. Oh, here. They give you these.
I'll give you those. I've got to do my job better.
Yes. So she's got little boots on, little kind of lower boots.
Riding boots, I guess we'd call those. And this riding habit that she's wearing, that's quite rare to find on a French fashion doll. So-
Oops, especially with her whip. At first I thought, I don't ride, so I thought this was a crop. This is a whip. Crop would be shorter. And when you're sitting side saddle, you need to be, to reach. And
Yeah, I guess you
little,
would.
Your little horse going.
And we have a beautiful parasol and then all kinds of other hats and
These
handbags.
are sweet boots. These are, oh,
Those, and very unusual with those bows placed there. And she has a plethora of jewelry. It looks like wonderful pieces. Just a wonderful group of jewelry. And this is very unusual. Do you know what kind of fur that is?
Don't we were thinking mole or something?
Could be mole or muskrat. Do you know what? We're going to show it out into the.
I'm sorry.
We're going to show.
have it? No,
We're going to show. Good thing there wasn't a bulldog here. It would have been gone. We're going to show it out in the world, and someone's going to comment because they're going to be
Okay,
someone who
then
collects
you'll know.
fur,
Yes.
and they'll tell it that's
Let's see. We can maybe go like this. They can kind of
definitely
see what's
not
in
a
there.
rabbit. That I know.
It's so soft.
Yeah, wonderful. And similar green boxes that Herace have. So that was a market trend going on. Now, before she came to you, wasn't she in a museum?
She was in Angela Prater's museum in Davos, Switzerland. And, well, we could go back. In 1943, during the war in London, in England, the little towns and cities had Red Cross weeks. Faversham, which is where Louise ended up living in her adult life, had a Red Cross week in August of 1943. By that time, Louise was elderly, and maybe she was giving away some of her possessions, I don't know, but she donated Victoria as a raffle.
For the Red Cross.
For the Red Cross, for Red Cross Week. And they raised money for the POWs, and they would send care packages to the POWs in Germany. So Victoria was placed in it was a cabinetry making place, furniture making store on Preston Street, which is the same street she lived on down the street. We have some, actually, I think a little postcard that shows that. So that's Preston Street, and she was in a store here. Actually, I know the address, but I don't know where it is. I would have to actually go there. And then Louise lived right behind this tree here, so right down the street.
Oh, that's her house.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, how
behind
fun.
there.
Oh, fun.
So the story goes that she was placed in a different outfit every day, sort of entice people to buy the ticket.
Because she would be at that period an old-fashioned doll.
And tickets were 6 pennies each, 6 cents. And this is an actual raffle ticket from the time. And so it says...
number 819. So was that the winning raffle ticket or just one of the...
just one of them, I think. And I don't have glasses. And it says, all clothes made by Parisian dressmakers. And that information had to have come from Louise. She knew.
She knew.
She knew where they came from. So the doll was raffled off, and the lucky winner was somebody known as Great Aunt Annie from Faversham. We don't know who Great Aunt Annie is. Maybe, hopefully someday we'll be able to know. Annie, that was in their family for about 50 years. Went to her niece, Sue Logan, who had the doll, and actually as a child brought the doll into school for show and tell when they were talking about the Victorian era. And she's the one who named her Victoria, because she reminded Sue of Queen Victoria. Well, in 1994, Sue decided she wanted to buy a boat. And so gave Victoria up for raffle.
Boat Victoria.
No, for auction. She had seen an Antiques Roadshow program, and they were auctioning off a doll that had a provenance that went from Queen Victoria, actually. And this was the doll, and a very nice little doll, little Gautier, I guess, and with a few pieces of clothing, a few dresses. And she saw what they had praised it as. She said, "Oh God, my doll's worth way more than this." Of course. So she talked to Christie's, and they put Victoria up for auction. And here's her catalog.
Very regal.
So this is when Angela Prater bought her. She was the winning bidder. She was so excited, she just kept her hand up and just was like shaking because she was so excited to get it and add it to her museum, her toy.
Which was a lovely museum
I
with
never saw it, but
beautiful,
people have
yes,
said
very
it was
pristine
great. Yeah.
quality, a wonderful eye that she had.
And unfortunately, in 2012, Angela had health problems and deacquisitioned her museum. And so Victoria, once again, was auctioned. And that's when I got her. And I was so excited.
So everybody pretty much who's ever owned Victoria is known.
Yes.
So there's a
There's
complete
Louise,
line.
Sue Logan, or Annie and Sue Logan, that family, Angela.
And you. Yeah, so that's pretty amazing when you think about, you know, a 140-year story that we know who everyone is. And Denise is, I know that we talked about this with the Grovian. Denise is taking over our sewing workshop that Louise Hedrick has done, because Louise is kind of retiring and traveling is problematic, and you're taking over her program and finishing up her commitments. But then the next thing that Denise is filling that spot, the next thing that she's going to do is going to be a workshop on Victoria costuming these costumes. So if you were going to pick the costume that you would teach a class of, which piece would you pick?
You know, first I was thinking this one, and with a lot of these dresses and outfits, the lines are similar. So you can get the jacket down, you can get the polonaise, this overskirt, and the skirt down, and then it's all the decoration, the ruffles.
That changes it.
Oh my goodness, yes, that makes the dress. And it's a lot of gathering in the back. And so we'll
would
work
that
on
be,
that. And
would that be your choice?
It might be.
Okay, it's up to you.
It might be.
But look at the line, the seaming in the back here. How beautifully
Asymmetrical this
but
is.
how it's beautifully pieced. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 seams. I mean, that's really pretty amazing. And this color, the Eugenie blue, is just very, very luscious. So this would be a big project for a class to do. I mean, it's
Well, it would be
basically
a big-
simple,
yes,
but then
yes.
it's the embellishments.
But they can learn how the sleeves are put in. See, they're not, the seam is not on the shoulder, it's back here. Little tricks like that.
Lots of different things. And this is quite a famous dress too, because this is on this one here. You might want to think about this too, because this is on the cover of Denise's book about Victoria. So there you can see Victoria on her book. And this is a beautiful book. This will be on Ruby Lane. You don't have to necessarily be interested in French fashion dolls. If you're interested in dolls, it's just a very lovely story and a beautiful read, and visually it's quite stunning. And you even supply in it, I think, a pattern
For the
writing habits. So a lot of collectors, I know around the world, they're making it because they're all on Facebook and whatnot. Well, Denise, I want to thank you for bringing this wonderful doll to
You're welcome.
the Grovian, and I'm hope that people share this so that other people that might not know about Ruby Lane. It would be hard to believe that there are people on the planet that don't know about Ruby Lane. This
Right.
morning when we were getting this together, there was a lady walking down Forest Avenue with a Ruby Lane bag. So I guess the word's out. And she wasn't
She
coming
wasn't
to
part of
us.
us,
She
no.
was coming to us. Well, listen, thank you, everybody.
Thank
and
you.
have
Thank you,
wonderful
Ruby Lane.
holidays. And we'll see you some other time.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ruby Lane, we're back. Here's our encore of our encore. So we're here at the Grovian talking about Victoria, and we just wrapped that. And one of our studio audience members said, "Oh, look at Victoria has a sewing machine," which she does, which reminded Denise that she forgot to bring out Victoria's Maid. So we have Victoria's
We have
Maid.
Victoria's Maid.
We have Victoria's Maid. And what I think is so fun about this, and I want to share this to inspire the audience, this is a lovely French fashion doll in a very subdued costume. But when you think about her in her occupation, she is Victoria's maid, who is a very fine lady. And it totally makes sense. And you could see her toiling and repairing all of Victoria's costumes and getting her dressed. This is really like right out of Downton Abbey, 1875.
Right.
So it's really, sometimes we have to look at the plain girls
That's right.
too.
That's right. We do.
Yeah, we do.
Like I said, my friends thought I was crazy, but I had a purpose for it.
She had a purpose. And I
all
just
original.
thought we had to share this with you because we thought it was just so cute that you could see her with Victoria, not as pretty as Victoria, but yet still
genteel.
and genteel and integrity,
well-bred.
well-bred. And, you know, we're all about making a tableau at the Grovian. And I know you're also about a tableau.
Yes.
So this creates a magical scene, and we just wanted to share it with you before we say, this really is goodbye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.